this thing. Yo, what is going on, YouTube? What is going on? It is the Pulse. It is Monday. It is later than 3 o'clock, which we were supposed to go live at, and that's completely my fault. My dumb brain thought I was going to go live at 3:30 for some reason because my Wednesday lives are 4:30. I don't know. I got mixed up. My fault. Ryan is a saint. 100% my fault. I'm joined with my amazing co-host, the man himself, Mr. Ryan Turner. Ryan, what's going on? Look at those things. Look at them.
Oh, sorry. Did you say something? Just doing my...
Oh, just couldn't hear me over your...
Oh, yeah. Pulse, Reddit. Join us. Reddit.com/r/armwrestling. Let's go, baby. Let's get it.
Yes. If you guys could share the video, we'd appreciate any of you guys if you could share it on Facebook or Instagrams or anything you're on. If you could share this, I would love that. I appreciate it a ton. Also, if you guys have not seen how this video works or the show works, we go over Reddit. We are moderators on the subreddit for arm wrestling, so we're going to go over the top posts for the week, and then we'll kind of get into some training questions, and it'll be about an hour-ish, trying to answer as many of your guys' questions as we can and kind of commenting on the top topics. We don't usually get to the chat too much, guys, so unless it's a super chat, we pretty much stay on the Reddit, so don't think I hate you guys or I'm ignoring you. It's just kind of how we program this show. All right, so you guys, let's get the old Reddit up here on the screen. There we go. I mean, you can already see it. The first post of the week. Normally, it's always Devon Larrett. This week, it is posted by Nefarious, and it is East vs. West is growing with rapid pace. Great news for the arm wrestling fans, and this is from Ingen Terzi. He says, great news for arm wrestling fans. Enigma of Rage, East vs. West YouTube channel together are about to reach 200,000 subscribers. These two channels, total views together, have passed 70 million. East vs. West Instagram has reached 62,000 followers. In the last 2 weeks, it's increased 15,000 followers. East vs. West 10 was purchased 30% more than the previous most purchased East vs. West, which was 9. I see the increase of the sport of the fans. We will continue to grow the sport as it deserves. I thank all the true fans who have brought East vs. West to where it is today. We will continue to serve the sport and community. You may even see someday East vs. West being held in an arena like UFC. Big news. And that's not even mentioning the other people that steal it and rip it off and like all the other views it's getting in other ways. It's not even talking about those, right? So those all add to it as well. What do you think, Ryan? Is this the future or what? Is this bright light in front of us?
Look, I'm not saying I'm responsible for every single subscriber on the East vs. West YouTube channel, just most of them with my incredible clipping and editing skills. But no, this is huge. This is what we need. This is how I found the sport on YouTube. I love asking all the newcomers, oh, how'd you come across arm wrestling? And it used to be either my dad arm wrestled or I saw a flyer at the gym for like the OG guys. Now it's all social media. It's YouTube, it's TikTok, it's Instagram. So this is all moving in the right direction. And I just checked, Devon is at 838,000, if we want to use that as a barometer for arm wrestling growth. Although he's kind of a personality in and of himself. But, dude, this is it. This is the future. It's YouTube. It's live streaming. And I love that Engen's talking about adding more fans because that was a tree people have been barking up for a long time, right? The old East vs. West was very kind of a solemn affair. But at 10, they had the people in the background. And now he's talking about doing it in an arena. So, the future is bright. Oh,
yeah. I mean, look at that. There it is.
That shirt, dude.
All my East vs. West shirts like wearing them, but they're skin tight. I got to be feeling confident in my body.
There's a small over in Europe, dude. This is like a 2X, and it is squeezing my arm.
But dude, yeah, super exciting to hear about East vs. West taking off and all the social media is growing because it really that's how us as arm wrestlers or people that are from arm wrestling, like don't have a background with millions of dollars, how we can help grow the sport, man. It's through social media. We all have access to social media. And so the more, channels, the more arm wrestlers push things and grow, just general social media in general is how our sport is going to get in front of millions of people. And with that, start coming sponsorships. With sponsorships, start coming money. With money, it becomes a bigger sport and more people want to get involved with it, right? So I think this is just the beginning. And not even the beginning. I mean, it's been going for a little while, but I think this is great news in terms of a league or a promotion really taking off. I think this is awesome.
You made a great point there about not having a bunch of money dumped in. Like all these other leagues are backed by billionaires. This is like a how-to in bootstrapping an organization, So very impressive stuff. Let's keep it going.
All right. Next, posted by Arm Wrestling is Fun. The caricatures continue. Says Todd Zell stops a train using side pressure. This guy, what does he have in his hand? I can't read the what is
At
it?
least a Miller Lite or Miller High Life if I know Todd well.
Yeah. Oh yeah. True. Yeah. Miller. Definitely Miller High Life.
Yep.
I mean, hey, I don't. I mean, they've always been good. I don't know if I want to say they're getting better, but these he's getting more, intricate. It's not just the faces anymore. He has the Converse on. He has all these. He has the Todzilla stuff down to the T, especially with the veins in the forehead and the head there.
And we got color. This might be the first. I love watching the progression of this artist. We got color in there, and fun fact, that is how Todd Hutchings trains. Don't try that at home, children, but he does know those tracks.
Mm-hmm. Yep. A lot of people don't know that.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you can stop a train,
It is Todd. I wouldn't bet on
that. Good point. All right, moving forward. Posted by Stranix13 says, average arm wrestling poster. How can I make my wrist thicker? What's the R in the I? I don't know that. What is that, Ryan? I'm stupid. Help me.
I don't know if it's R right and left.
Oh, no, there's no way his right is 97 and his left is 26.
Yeah, something.
I don't know. Either way, he says, do I have the right genetics? I weigh 50 kg and I'm 190 centimeters. My thumb is bigger than all my friends, but my wrist is very small. I mean, if you have low body weight, I mean, not like we have people hold a ton of fat in their wrists, but that's something to be considered. I mean, skinny guys are going to have skinny wrists in general to start. But then, like, I mean, I don't know how much. I know my wrist over the years. I used to be able to wrap my finger around it and cover my middle nail with my thumb, and I can barely touch my fingers now. For me, so it's gotten about an inch thicker now. My hands have probably gotten thicker, which makes it harder to grip around the back of my wrist. So I don't know, but I've had about an inch of difference from that measurement. I remember I used to do that. I've done an inch difference. What about you?
Yeah, I have a great little metric for this. I have an old watch metal band, and I used to be able to spin it around my wrist so the watch face would face the underside. And now it's too taut on my wrist, period. Like I have to add a link. So that is a pretty hard metric. I know there was some discussion on whether or not you can make your wrists bigger. Definitely. I mean, there's tissue in there that grows. Bone can grow. But this guy might be – this guy's got a tall order in front of him. I mean, this is a troll post, right? The title is Average R/Arm Wrestling Poster. That's not actually this dude's wrist, is it?
This guy's – I don't know if this is actually his wrist, but this guy is looking for help if his wrist is too small. I don't know if this is actually him or if he's using it as an example, but he's asking the question. So – I don't know, man. But I don't know specifically how you would get your wrist bigger. I didn't like target it. Like I gotta gain size of my wrist. It just kind of happened naturally as I did more stuff for arm wrestling. So I don't know. I've never heard of anybody saying like this is how to get a stronger or thicker wrist intentionally. Have you heard anybody talk about that?
Bowen and RVJ got into it a while back. I forget who had what position, but I mean, you can see the tendon right there very clearly, and tendons grow and they get bigger and they get thicker. So train arm wrestling. I don't want to tell you, do your wrist curls, do your radial deviation. Things will grow. The wrist isn't some magical thing that just will not grow at any rate. So I wouldn't sweat it too much. Just keep going.
True story. Don't quit.
Don't quit.
All right. Posted by Arm Wrestling is Fun. Says Snow Bear playing in the snow. This is a video, I guess, Dennis Saplenkov released of him running around in his Speedo underwear, jumping in the snow and just rolling around, having a great time. He's just living his best life. Just doing what Saplenkov does. Is this like I've seen other Russians doing this. Is this like a normal thing or what?
Apparently, yeah. I've seen those same videos. They love it, man. Imagine being his neighbor and just like looking out your window and just this is what you see. How do you make sense of that? I mean, is this supposed to be some kind of like cold shock therapy? Is it for inflammation reduction? Like people sit in ice baths, right? To reduce inflammation.
It's an ice bucket challenge for ALS.
There you go. Maybe this is the new thing.
Hey, but you know what? I'm happy to see Dennis Saplenkov having a little bit of fun. Dude comes across kind of serious, because he looks kind of scary or whatever. So I'm happy to see him having a little bit of fun, and especially like with the social media. I don't know where this was posted, but good for him. He doesn't always have to be the big scary guy.
There you go.
Moving forward, posted by Best Glazer. It says George Svetkov meets up with Sasha Andreev. I mean, I would hope so, right? I would hope they would train. Yeah. I know there's video out of it. I didn't see the video. I didn't click on it. I know there is video out. I didn't see how it went. But I'm assuming if they went in some deep hook, Sasha, I know blue spin will slow Georgie down a little bit. I would hope in a hook. I don't know if you can get him in a hook, but if they started in one, I would hope you can slow him down. Did you see it?
No. I was hoping there was footage for it. So if someone has that, post it in the chat. Yeah, I would imagine it's outside. Georgie can take the wrist. Inside, I wouldn't bet against Sasha at all.
Yeah, never bet against Sasha.
Yeah, the bicep to just body ratio on Sasha is absurd. I mean, he's definitely doing a little bit of the Devon lyric to bring your head back, but he looks cartoonish, which is some foreshadowing for our next post. But
well, look at so yeah. There they are, the two posts matching up. Another caricature posted by Armwrestling is fun. Sasha and Georgie after training. I mean, Sasha's arm, legitimately, his right arm in this photo is like massive. His forearm looks twice as big as his left forearm. And Georgie, looking jacked. So do you think we're going to see anything surprising out of Georgie here in this King of the Table matchup coming up?
No, I think it's going to be the Devon show. I mean, we just saw them left-handed, and Devon took it. It was a grinder, but I mean, Devon's right is so much better, and he's so much stronger now than he was then. And that was immediately following an East versus West match. Now, I did hear that Georgie's better on right, but enough to close the gap and then some. Like, it's not just enough to close the gap that happened at that Arm Wars event. He's got to close the gap, make up for all the gains Devon has made, make up for all the stem cells that Devon said has healed him up. I think it's asking too much. Now, am I going to be glued to the screen? You bet. But Devon's got to sweep this. And I know you feel a little differently, if I recall, but
no, I mean, I think Devon wins. I have Devon as the winner. I'm interested to see. I think Georgie can pose some threats with his style of arm wrestling and stuff like that. But Devon, at most, I see Georgie potentially getting one pin, like a fast surge, maybe around one. But I definitely see Devon winning it. But yeah, Georgie's style, I mean, that pulling that far outside and having that pronation, everything usually stays intact. I think at some point when he goes sideways, he'll start losing his cup and slowly he'll wane. I don't know if Devon can beat him center table with Georgie posting like that. I don't know if Devon will be able to control center. He does have long arms. I'm kind of trying to envision that. I see Devon more doing the old outside thing, stopping Georgie for a while and then transitioning.
Yeah. Well, if we think back with Georgie and Jerry, Georgie couldn't finish him. Remember, he was inches above the pad and just could not get those last few inches. So now Devon's not going to be in that same position, flop pressing, but he will have a stop in that King's move. And you may be right. He may be able to bring Devon over, but I think he's going to have a hard time getting that pin and may just gas out after the first round trying. But I love Georgie. Talk to him a bunch. He's the nicest dude you're ever going to meet and massive. But I just got to call it how I see it, man.
Devon's such a hater, Ryan. You're such a hater, man.
Yeah, don't show this to Georgie.
All right, moving forward, posted by Zanadu. Devon versus Georgie hot take. And he says, Georgie should have never practice pulled Devon. Whatever Georgie or anyone else believes they can learn from Devon is dwarfed by what Devon downloads about you when you touch his hand. If Devon is a potential future opponent, do not grip him. I say this as a fan, but these guys have to learn not to give advantages to the OG. So he's posting this, hoping that Georgie and other Devon opponents are on Reddit reading this as a warning. What do you think? Do you think anybody that touches Devon's hand puts himself in an immediate disadvantage? Because I'm screwed then. Because at some point I want to beat Devon, and I practice with him 1,000 times.
Yeah, it's not going to help you. I'll say that much. You're not going to get more out of it than Devon gets. So if you are trying to min max here, if you're that sweaty, don't do it. Which at that level you should be that sweaty, but would advise against it. Now, is that going to be the difference maker in a match? I mean, I don't think so, because you're not pulling, you're not hitting. It's not a proper ready go. He just does this whole feel thing. How much of an advantage is that going to give you? I find it hard to believe that would ever change the outcome of a match. But basically, if you're going against Devon, just don't do anything he wants to do. Just period. Just ignore him. Just he doesn't exist until match day, because the dude loves that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Dude, if I ever have a match, I'm having headphones in. I'm not talking to him anytime. I'm not responding to a single message. We're just going to go, straight to the table. That's it.
That's funny. Yeah, I remember at WAL when Matt Mast faced him after they were doing like a post-match interview with Matt, and they're like, "What did you think about this when Devon said this to you?" And Matt goes, "Oh, I didn't hear a dang thing. What do you mean?" And that's the attitude you need to have with Devon. Tone it out. He knows what he's doing, but
really, like mental game wise, the worst thing you can do is rush Devon and try to get rush pins, because that's what he's waiting for you to try to do. Like burn yourself out and things like that. So he kind of wants to get in your skin. He wants you to go as hard as you can so you burn yourself out faster and things like that. And the arm wrestle is intelligent. I mean, that's the point. That plus the views from him talking crap. I mean, that's what it's all about.
Dude's a master.
Let's see. Moving forward, posted by Best Glazer. It says crazy pinching strength. This is a video of who is that? I'm not even sure who that is.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out too, man. I'm staring. It kind of looks like old, like Norm Devio footage, and then I was like, "Is that Joseph LeVay?" It might just be a random dude. I don't know that it is necessarily an arm wrestler.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I'm not seeing a bunch of arm wrestling stuff in the background. It could be a guy that's in the grip or anything like that. Either way, super impressive to be able to do pinch pull-ups like that. I can only do like 3 or 4 of those, so it's for normal humans, it's super impressive.
Yes, big true. If you guys have ever try that, just get even a 2x4 and just try to pinch and hold something. It is so hard. Yeah. Do you think that's super applicable to arm wrestling? Because like in the grip strength world, that's very much a lift, right? Pinch blocks.
Yeah, pinch blocks, bars. I don't know how much the carryover is. I mean, with that type of stuff, it encourages. So it's your forefingers versus your thumb. So your thumb gets a ton of work and a ton of drive because it has to carry basically half the load of the grip. So your thumb gets a lot of work. But in terms of pinch grip, how the carryover to arm wrestling, I mean, our forefingers are pretty much out there and flat. So to be comfortable with that, some carryover. But if you're talking about like massive carryover, is going to make a big difference? No, I don't think so. But strength is never going to hurt either. Being strong and having strong thumb drive in certain situations and the straps and things like that, it can be a big contributor, I guess. But I don't know if I would invest serious time into doing this if you are purely an arm wrestler. I don't know if I would do a training block for this type of thing.
I remember you did an interesting video on grippers and how you use them. I think if I recall, you were in like your car or something. You have an interesting strategy there, and I adopted it. It was like right upside down and what have you. So
I'm super smart, man.
What's that?
I'm super smart, man. So it makes sense.
Not dead. I am of the opinion anything that makes your hand stronger is going to help you. Like the pinching, like you said, should this be the one thing you focus on and just grind this out to be a good arm wrestler? No. Is that dude going to be a better arm wrestler because he has that kind of strength in his fingers? Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely not going to hurt. Moving forward, post by D's KNUTZ 6669. Says Fossil, Georgie Svetkov, Bulgarian footballer. The picture of Georgie says Georgie Svetkov is a former Bulgarian footballer who played as a forward. He competed in the 1968 Summer Olympics in Mexico City, where he won a silver medal with the Bulgarian team. He's 76 years old, and it names his teammates. Wow, Georgie's looking great for 76. To be honest, I would have not thought 76, man.
Nope, I was rolling seeing this dude because I before it got to the 1968, I thought he actually was like a professional soccer. I'm like, holy crap, this guy has a whole second life. What a switch. And then I'm like, oh, it's a different one. And there's a few of these. If you type a few arm wrestlers' names in, the Wikipedia, whatever they pull up, is of someone with the same name but totally different. This one's good though.
That's funny.
Good. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, Georgie, on your extensive career.
Yes.
All right, move forward. Posted by Conflict Reason 4160. Vitaly the Beast Laledin. Is that his nickname now? Can you hear that?
We can.
Oh man.
That one's misleading. That's replay, but
sorry, just kind of letting this go for a second. This is cool. I like when I see Vitaly get fired up. He's such a calm guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Attaboy.
Stay strong, huh? Stay strong.
Yeah. So Vitaly is one for sure. If we're not even talking about Levon, Vitaly is, in my opinion, the biggest threat to Devon Larratt. I have him as the favorite, slightly over Devon personally. But I think Vitaly's the guy. I think Vitaly might be the guy right now. But that's just an opinion, right? He still has to beat Devon and do things to prove that. But I don't know, man. That guy is a threat, and I know it's all up to Vitaly, like how serious he's taking it and how serious he's training. Because I know we have seen like a Vitaly that showed up to AMC and didn't do the best, but then we've also seen Vitaly just pretty much destroy Ravaz recently. So kind of what Vitaly's going to show up that day, who knows? So him versus Hermes is going to be exciting. I have Vitaly winning that personally at like 60-40. It's just we're going to know between both of them pretty much Vitaly and Hermes, like whoever loses their wrist. It's kind of it. You know, we should know within probably round one who's going to win this super match. I mean, for the most part.
I'm not so sure. Remember against Levon with Hermes, right? He can sit there with that wrist. And if Levon couldn't finish him, I don't know if Vitaly can. It's if
two things. Name one more example of Hermes pulling without his wrist.
No.
Okay. And two, is Vitaly going to be going nearly as sideways as Levon, or will he be going backwards?
Yeah.
So those are the things that changes that situation.
Yeah. That's fair. That is totally fair. He's such a hard read because when back in top 8, it was actually in that little montage, there was no question Vitaly was number 2. I mean, when the fact that he kind of cracked Levon's hand a little bit in the finals, everyone's like, he's the guy, he's the legend, it's him and Levon, then everyone else. But then he lost to Dave Chafee, who has not been having a good run lately, and that just threw a whole wrench into things. It's like, whoa, okay, where does that put him, right? And then he does what he did with Ravaz. I can't wait for this. I cannot wait for this, because if he dominates Hermes, which he has a real shot of doing, that changes everything. The whole equation gets messed up, and we're going to be hearing Devon versus Vitaly chants from the rooftop. So,
wait, who do you think wins? Who's your money on for this Hermes and Vitaly match?
Vitaly.
Oh, okay.
Like
dominant victory or like barely winning this thing.
His arm, the length of his arm, man. I don't know that Hermes is ready for that. I don't know because I mean, Matt when he lost to Matt Mask in WAL. I know asterisk WAL. It was chaos, and Matt has that really long arm. Presumably Vitaly's elbow to fingertip maybe even longer and definitely stronger than Matt. So he may be the kryptonite. But I'm not putting money on this. Don't clip this. Don't show it to me later. I'm not betting a dime on this match. But I would not be surprised if Vitaly takes it.
Okay. Oh, this is my birthday post. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, so, I know I can't believe I'm 23 already. I'm gonna go back to let's go get on some training posts. I'm just gonna jump up to what's hot, the newer posts. Generally, they'll find them on here. Oh, Martino, our guy, defensive hook training, 50 kg, slight elbow foul, but we'll let it slide because it's training. Do you do a lot of pulling stuff like this, Rod?
Not like that. I'll do bent over rows. Both barbell and dumbbell, which is effectively the same motion, just on a different plane, right? But he has a fat grip on there too, which I like. I think it's super applicable, right? It's just drag. It's training that lat, like you said, the lat, especially in a strap, you get to use it, and that's the strongest muscle in arm wrestling. So I think that's a clean lift, and I don't think it really matters that much that his elbow is up off, right? We're just trying to train that pulling motion. So, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think he should be strict and treat it like an arm wrestling match, moving 7 inches at a time? Or is it fine for him to just take that elbow off?
So he calls it defensive hook training. So defensive hook to me is cementing our elbow, right? We're not sliding in a ton. You're stopping them because they're being offensive, because you're being defensive, right? So to be expecting to have a ton of drag and be really active in a defensive hook doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Defensive all hook also is when your shoulder is above your elbow. For the most part, you're pushing down on your elbow. So you're utilizing that joint and side pressure, that little arm breakage pressure to stop someone in a hook like that, right? The angle he's working is going to be mostly lat bicep driven. So I feel like there's a few muscles that don't correlate directly to a defensive hook. Now, he could be just trying to isolate one aspect of a defensive hook. That could be his goal. But if I was trying to like really mimic a defensive hook on a table, it would be starting really shoulder up, and it'd be small motions, small bicep curls up, while a little sidewaysy, a little arm breaky, in terms of the angle, and a lot of pronation to kind of stop drives is what I'll be focusing on. So I don't know his intent with this lift. Personally.
Yeah, no, I think that's actually a really good point. His vector of force is front to back, right? But if you're in a defensive position, it's much more sideways, more diagonal. It's almost like he's training more of a drag hook off the start. a la like Arthur Makarov, you know, just that drag front to back, which you're going to get more of at the start. So, yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit of a misnomer. Good exercise nonetheless, but not necessarily defensive hook training.
Yeah. Well, step it up, it's Martino. Step it up. No, I love you. All right. How are these not top posts yet? Look at these things. Anyway, okay. Posted by Bebzon, who posts some daily motivation arm wrestling progression. Oh man, Devon is just taking over. I just see nonstop Devon lifts. The 1-inch lifts just all over the place. Just calm, cool, and collect. Where's he from? Where's this guy from? I can't see. I don't know what country he's from. I'm trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I can't tell.
Looks good though. Looks strong. That has the stone face down, Pat. The not never showing that you're actually trying. He has it
right.
down.
I mean, it seems high enough level. That looked like a WAF event, maybe even the Romanian Worlds, which would have been not long ago. So,
right. Oh, okay. I like this right here. This is something I know it's small. A lot of people probably didn't even notice this. So on this riser lift he's doing right here, you guys, I teach people a lot. Like when you're working on your hand and wrist in the gym, like right now he's attacking his riser. You don't need it. You're there for the wrist, the hand and wrist. I train isolated. So this is coming from a guy who trains isolated lifts. I isolate one thing at a time when I'm lifting. See how he has his offhand underneath his arm to brace. So he's not doing this lift for the brachialis. He's not doing it for the bicep or the elbow flexors. He's doing it for the riser. So it's okay if you brace your off arm with your other hand to alleviate some pressure off like your elbow flexors to target the wrist. So you'll see me doing cupping on like a pulley system like this. As long as the wrist is getting the work, that's the important part, right? That's what we're doing it for. Because there'll be times where my chest or something's too sore. I did the day before. I'm not trying to hit it anymore today, but I need to hit cupping. And so I'll take pressure off with two hands and do a lot of my hand and wrist work. But a lot of people always leave the arm dangling out there, or their wrist curls are like this, big sweeping motions and things like that. If you're doing it for the hand and wrist, you can isolate it by using your offhand to help brace. So like he's kind of doing this for rising.
Yep. And it makes the world of difference. Like the concentration you can give to the riser when you're actually supporting your forearm like that, it's night and day. Because you don't realize it, but you also can kind of cheat and use your forearm a little bit, and it's do it. If you don't try it one time, just support, take all the weight off, and then just focus on that radial deviation. Yeah, big fan of that.
I agree. Okay, posted by Robert Nunez 63 says good form. So he's doing pronation with a belt down to a stack of weights with the belt around his thumb. It looks, with the belt around his thumb. What are your thoughts, Ryan? What do you see?
That again? I was going to see the start because his range of motion might not have been good.
Oh, I see two things that I don't like about this. I wonder what you're going to say, though, Ryan. I want to hear your perspective first.
The first thing is I don't necessarily want him supinating that much. You're never going to be totally palm up and then just totally supinate someone over. I'd rather see him up the weight and do more of an offensive pronation, like start neutral and go offensive instead of completely palm up and then turning all the way over. That would be one thing I'd say. Is that one of your two, or what do you have?
Nope.
No.
Two things. One, I know we just talked about hand and wrist work and bracing it with your offhand. That doesn't correlate necessarily to pronation work, right? Because your pronator teres is an elbow flexor. I'm a believer that you must be flexing your elbow while doing pronation. Doing pronation the way he's doing it is going to be targeting your pronator quadratus, the little one in the wrist, mostly, right? Because you're just rotating the wrist as hard as you can. So the one that's partially an elbow flexor with his hand braced on a table or something like that, he's just rotating the handle. That's not going to be hitting your pronator teres, the big pronator, nearly as much or nearly as isolated or activating it nearly as much. So I like elbow movement when I see pronation. I should see that. I believe heavily the elbow should be moving, right? Or at least flexing. You could be doing it from a 90, but if I saw him at least lifting his arm up off that thing and doing like a partial, but the elbow was moving and working, then I think it correlates over to pronation work a lot more. Second thing, if you're going to have a belt go around the back of your hand like that, I'm a big believer in have it mimic a strap. Have it mimic a strap setup. Like if you're going to have it look like a strap, the way a strap intersects with your hand, then put it around your hand the way a strap would. So he had it like Sorry, I got a little measuring tape thing here, but he had it like really strict, like right over his hand, like right up here. Now a strap is going to be down this. So whenever I do martial arts belt or any kind of pulley thing like that for pronation, I make sure it's on my wrist like a strap, so I can get used to driving that pronation through the strap. So you might as well get the muscle memory and the muscle coordination to apply a pronation in a strap through, like if you're going to work out with it that way. You know what I mean?
Because you anticipate being in the strap, like let's say you know you're probably not going to end up in the strap. Would you then recommend doing it how he's doing it and making it all go through the hand?
I mean, I think that even if you train it in the strap, even outside the strap, it's still going to be hit the exact same way. I guess I could see some merit if you don't plan to be pronating in the straps very much on holding the strap and doing your pronation through the top part. But I mean, that's just because there's certain guys that like to do like pure hand arm wrestling, like high hooking or maybe top rolling, things where the wrists aren't connecting, and it's gonna be all the pronations will be up in the hand above the wrist. So I guess I could see some merit for that. But doing the pronation with a strap, like he's doing it, or trying to mimic strap setup, will still carry over to that as well, I think.
Yeah, I just worry, like if I was doing that, and if I had a strap going around my forearm right here, like I feel like it'd be so tempting to cheat and use my brachialis to like get it going and then pronate, so it's almost more of a hammer curl than it is isolating.
Not as you're starting palm up like he was.
Yeah, I guess that. Well, then it would be more bicep, right?
Well, I mean, still pronating it. We're not going to. So I mean, I guess it depends, and that actually goes on to another point. Is that like I don't understand that arm wrestlers, like we're on the table, we're on a practice table or a tournament, we care about everything. We care about finger placement and exact, millimeters where everything's at. And everything matters so much. Yet when we go to the gym, a lot of times they lift like cavemen, right? Just throwing stuff around, not really caring where you're holding the handle or where the strap's on the back of your hand or where your elbow is at. It's just kind of, I'm just trying to get it done. So I'm when it comes to like hitting pronation, I would make sure that I'm not the bulk of my lift is not with my hand like this. It's a little slightly pronated, because the pronation really turns off a lot when you're like this, when you're fully thumb up. It mostly goes on your brachialis or brachioradialis. So the most of the work would be here, minimal time here, right back down to the driving part, right through the concentric phase. And even if I'm doing static, I'm not trying to do it straight down. I would try to do something sideways or up, something that's really going to target pronation the whole time and not be hitting my brachialis too much.
There you go.
So I don't know, just my thoughts. It's whatever, you can do whatever. I'm just throwing some Hail Marys out there, see if anybody's catching them. Just throwing some bombs, just tossing them,
Coach Derek, man.
Okay, here we go.
What are we doing, guys? As arm wrestlers, what are we doing? Park benches, rolling around in this.
Look at this. Hermes riser lift with half the weight. So no longer is it's no longer a Devon lift, it's now an Hermes lift. I wonder what the difference between an Hermes lift and a Devon lift is. I mean, that one had more range of motion, I guess, than Devon's, a little bit, because Devon's was static and just standing up with it. This one's more curling. So is that the difference?
Did he have his elbow on his leg there? What was the setup?
Starts with it in front, rises up, kind of like Devon. That part was Devon-y. This part is Hermes-y. I think. Okay. So I'm guessing that's what the Hermes lift is.
Yeah, Devon's all about those little micro movements, man. So yeah, that makes sense. We're getting niche here. I'm
loving this. Just out in the park, just like setting up a tripod. I'm just gonna, you guys can play frisbee. You guys go play with your dog. I'm gonna sit here doing my riser lifts. Just all right. Attaboy. In terms of, is it isolation? It's a good lift, man. Good lift for your riser. It's definitely putting heavy isolation on there. I think it's a solid lift. I don't know the weights. I'm the worst one to ask about weights. Like, what's a good weight number?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's almost it's so hard to do the exact same movement with the same range of motion. Like focusing so much on the weight, I think, is a waste of time.
No, I can see that.
Especially like pulleys have different amounts of friction, or it's not as lubricated, so it doesn't slide as well. Or there's the mechanical advantage of having multiple pulleys. It's so hard to compare lifts.
Look at this thing. Posted by Lynched Mob, says ulnar radial deviation stick with a slight wrist flexion engage, custom fit to hand, oak. I mean, I kind of like it in a I'm seeing. So this would be trying to make his hand pronate, so he'd be supinating to keep that. Oh man, okay, I see it. I have a handle not quite as long as that, but it's still a handle with a loop on top. So it's really one direction, but he has 2 pulleys, it looks like, on there. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it at all. You ever use anything like that?
Yeah, bro, I've trained at Ron Clemba's place. He's got the weirdest. He has multiple sticks that he found in the wood and fashioned into arm wrestling handles. He's a mad scientist. So, dude, I think there's merit in just weird stuff like this. Take a stick, put some eye loops on it, and then attach to things. And I don't do and necessarily love the multiple pulleys on there. I get the idea of it, but then I feel like it's hard to isolate where the failure point is or how much the pronation is affecting the back pressure, blah, blah, blah. When you have all these different vectors of force, it's harder to read where you're training and what the bottleneck is. But it's not going to hurt. It's not going to hurt. Well, it could hurt you, but probably not.
I like having multiple attachment points, but it looks like they're hitting the exact same angle from this picture. It looks like they're hitting the same angle, so that I'm not really understanding too much. But having one like maybe make it hard to cup, like resisting your cupping where you rotate the stick, and then one that's purely on like trying to roll you over or something like that. Maybe if this does that, because I can see this the bottom loop here. If you try to like cup in the handle and rotate it, it might fight that, and then the top part might be trying to roll you out. I could see something like that. I'd like to see a video of this, man. If you get a chance, post a video of you using it lynched by mob. I'd like to see a little more of this stick here.
Have you seen the Bob Brown corner?
Yeah, with all the all the different angles and attachments.
That's like the final boss of this type of training. You can attach anything to anything.
It's just crazy because like you have to go to that. This is why I'm not a fan of pulley systems and things like that. It's just like the Bob Brown thing is an example. And still, with all those bands, he's still not going to replicate arm wrestling. Right. And like and that's the goal, right? You want to get more and more into replicating how an arm wrestling match would feel, and it still won't. It's still not going to replicate a guy dragging his elbow, committing the difference in pressures suddenly if he presses or this and that, and like finger placement and grip on the back of your hand. And it's just not going to do it, right? And like if you're underneath his palm, there's so many things that a pulley can't replicate that it just can't replace arm wrestling, right? So I'm just not the guy. I'm just not sold on it. I'm not sold on arm wrestling pulleys. It's just not my thing.
No, I'm with you, man. I mean, I think it's good to mix it up. Just keep the body guessing, throw it in there, but I would not. I think stick to the basics. Attach some weight to a rope and do the Hermes riser lift. I think that'll get you further.
Yeah. Okay. Says posted by Feisty Professor 913. Does wrist rolling have any benefits to arm wrestling? I'm not an arm wrestler. I just want to be able to beat 99% of guys in an arm wrestle. I do wrist rolling already for hypertrophy. I was wondering if I keep doing that, will I build some arm wrestling strength? It would be great if it does, as it's my favorite form exercise by far. Wrist rolling. Cupping?
I'm assuming he means like put a dumbbell in your hand and then wrist.
Oh, okay.
Wrist curling, right? Wrist rolling, wrist curling. Maybe I'm totally off here, but like if he's doing that for hypertrophy, like that's kind of a common bodybuilder lift. So that's what I assume he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely not going to hurt. It'll build your cup, what we call cupping and forearm strength, I guess, for arm wrestling. Won't hurt. Once again, I'd love to see videos, man. I'm always trying to figure it out just based off what they wrote, exactly what they mean.
He's also got to know what to do with it, right? Like it's one thing to just be strong and that, but like, okay, now what? Like you did this in the match, but if you don't know what that means or what it does to your opponent, you're just going to be sitting there with a bent wrist instead of a wrist like this. So watch some videos.
Feisty Professor, you would gain more out of one practice than you would out of 7 months of just doing wrist rolls.
So true, dude. Just go to one. Preach, man.
One solid practice of learning how to arm wrestle will help you so much more than even hitting world records on wrist rolling. One practice would make you a way better arm wrestler than having the world record in just wrist rolling and not having no idea what you're doing.
Actually true. We've all been through it. We all went to our first practice, and it's like you can read about this stuff, and you can, I trained pronation today, but until you know what it feels like on a table, you're just not going to get there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. We'll hop here. We'll hop right here. Posted by Gyon Yoru Walk. Says, what can I do to have stronger hands? I was pulling in a tournament yesterday and was easily dominated by my two opponents. Before the start, I warmed up with a pro under 18 guy I trained with half a year ago, and he said I'm feeling much stronger. And I am. I hit good numbers in the gym. By the way, I am very much an amateur. I trained for 2 to 3 years, follow and understand the sport, but I lack in table time. So the problem is, when I gripped up with those guys, I knew in an instant I had no chance. Their hands felt like iron. like gripping up with a statue. You must know the feeling. There was nothing I could do. I felt absolutely powerless. Thinking back, I guess I should have tried to slip and go outside, but I feel like I'm better inside. So there and then I didn't even attempt to go outside. I just got destroyed, plain and simple. How can I achieve the same power in my hands, my fingers, grippers, reverse curls, or is it a good part of just genetic? Manual labor. I feel like no matter how good my cup and pronation gets, I'll have no chance against guys with hands like that. What do you think, Ryan? What do you got?
Yeah, we've all been there. You feel good, and then you grip up with someone, and you just know from the start. Man, the first time I gripped up with Jerry Cataret, I was probably like 6 months in the sport, and it felt like that. It's like, it doesn't matter what happens here. I might as well go grab the foundation of the house and try to pull it. So what can you do to have stronger hands? Well, let's break that down, right? What does a stronger hand mean? The hand is a very intricate, complicated series of joints. So, right, you got the fingers, you have finger flexion, you also have wrist flexion, you have riser or radial deviation, you have ulnar deviation, the opposite. We had Paul Lynn on a couple weeks ago, and he's like, ulnar deviation is so important for that finishing strength. So the hand's complicated. I happen to know a weirdo who keeps a rice bucket right next to him at all times. So that's something you should probably look into for just general hand strengthening. If you're starting from the beginning, that probably will give you a good base. But then it's simple, right? Break it down: wrist flexion, finger flexion, riser, ulnar deviation, pronation, and maybe some supination. I don't think that's as important as people think it is. And then same way you get stronger biceps, same way you get stronger pecs, stronger quads. Just train it, recover, and do it again.
So this, I mean, I know he says he's an amateur, that he trained for it for 2 or 3 years, but he lacks in table time. Gripping tight and gripping really hard is a pretty amateur thing to do. Most guys at any high level aren't squeezing your hand as tight as they can at all. I mean, new guys, like if you go arm wrestle a random guy off the street, he's going to squeeze your hand as tight as he can. Go grip up with an amateur guy, his first, second tournament. He might be some big, strong construction worker. He's going to squeeze your hand, right? So you can feel his power. When someone does that, I don't laugh, but it just doesn't mean anything to me at this point. Like there's so many other things that I know that I can't feel in your grip that we're about to see how strong they are. So you say right here, you said the hands felt like iron, you know, the feeling, there's nothing I could do. I felt absolutely powerless. But yeah, so you were destroyed the moment they closed their hands. I knew in an instant I had no chance, he says. So like mission accomplished. Like those guys scared the crap out of you. When I gripped up with Brian Shaw, I was sitting there and I'm working with Brian Shaw, getting him in these positions, this tight position for arm wrestling. He's looking like he has a good setup, and the pressure I'm feeling from before we actually start arm wrestling just feels insane, right? He's just this static strength, big old strong hand, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, man, this guy feels like he's gonna pick me up and throw me across the table right now. Like my body is literally gonna fly across the table. But I just had to have faith. I was like, okay, well, we're gonna see how strong his arm wrestling components are. Yeah, he can squeeze my hand tight. I don't care. I'm going to launch in on his bicep, and we're going to see what his bicep has. I'm glad he can squeeze. He has one of the strongest grips in the world. Cool. I'm going to see what his bicep has to offer, right? And so right when we started, I just screw everything I'm feeling right now. I'm shooting in. Then when I got to his bicep, it was strong, but it was not anything that crazy. He told me he hadn't trained pure biceps in like 10 years. Okay, got there. He didn't know how to pronate really well because he's still new, and everything worked out in the end, right? Or same thing. I end up top rolling him. Okay, scary hand. Well, that just means I need to be a little more intuitive with my top rolling, find his fingertips, find his weakest spot. He's still going to have a weakness in his fingertips, and find a way out to top roll. You just have to not let that happen where you feel like you can't do anything. Confidence manifests itself on the table so blatantly that people don't understand. Going into that match and not letting that get in your head so you actually apply your move means everything. He screwed you in the head before the match even started. What if you were like way stronger than this guy in certain angles? You could have destroyed him. But the fact that he squeezed your hand tight completely ruined you, right? It doesn't mean that much. Generally, the tighter they're squeezing, that means they don't have a lot of coverage. A lot of times they'll sacrifice coverage on the back of your hand and they start squeezing as tight as they can. And it's easier to get around, right? And so I don't know, man. Just you can't get intimidated by that. And just because someone else squeezed your hand doesn't mean you have to devote your life to try and get stronger fingers and grippers. Well, you're going to try to scare everybody else because it's not going to be that. It's not going to help you become a way better arm wrestler, right? So instead, just focus on the basics. Get confidence in your move that when you get somebody where you want them to go, then you'll be fine. Don't get so scared about their grip. It doesn't mean nearly as much as you're letting it mean in your head, in my opinion.
And I guess also keep in mind, like, if you really are worried about this dude's hand, there's always supinating off the start. That's one thing in arm wrestling that doesn't really have a defense, right? You can supinate, and you're always going to have that link. You can shoot in and try to get wrist on wrist. I don't know how to make it look good, but you shoot in wrist on wrist, and that will take a lot of the hand out of it, too. Not all of it, of course, but a decent amount, right? There's no real counter to just supinating and diving in, because the counter to that would be their wrist extension, which they're not going to do, right? The counter to your pronation is their wrist flexion. The counter to your wrist flexion is their pronation. But if you supinate at the start, you're always going to be able to just snap in and then make it more of an arm-on-arm game. That's an option. But no, I think your answer is actually stellar. The squeezing at the start can be extremely misleading. Not in Jerry's case, but oftentimes you're right.
Okay, so it is 4 o'clock. Ryan, you said you have to bail at 4. I might actually go for like another 10, 15 minutes. Do you want to stay?
Let's one more here.
Okay, one more. Let's find one more training question here. This is something I'm not very experienced in. Posted by Possible Land 9487 says lack of explosiveness. Yesterday I had my second tournament ever after I started my fall winter training arc. First tournament was in October. He got annihilated, obviously. This time I managed to win 2 rounds in the losing bracket, but then I was destroyed by the average construction worker with big hands. My strongest pull is inside, but during this tournament, I noticed I have a big lack of explosiveness in the start. I always found myself in a losing position, but thanks to my strong cup and biceps, I managed to come back every time and even win against older, more experienced people. Do you guys have any recommendation on how to train for an offensive hook technique? Like what should I train more, side pressure, supination, etc.? Also, what is the best position I can have on the table before I start so I can take advantage of my strong points, as I mentioned before, cupping and bicep? For reference, I'm 180 meters and 105 kg, so all the opponents I'm against are taller with longer levers than me in my category. You're more explosive than me, Ryan. You want to get into this?
Yeah, so you can train explosiveness, right? When the ref says go, you can think of the process there, right? Whether some people are visual, some people are auditory. It has to register with your brain, and your brain has to send the electrical pulse out to the muscles. They have to contract, blah, blah. That's a whole process that you can speed up. And you do it by training quickly. So what I've added into my routine are cleans and jerks. It's a very explosive movement, and it just trains your body's ability to just turn on, right, very quickly. Now, maybe you don't have access to an Olympic lifting platform, or you don't have the mobility, or you don't want to risk it because it is a dangerous exercise if you don't know what you're doing. There are apps on the App Store that will give you random beeps on any delay, right? You can say sometime within the next 10 seconds, give me a beep. And when you hear that beep, you can just go, right, and just practice that over and over and over. And then you mentioned, should I add more side pressure? I do think that's a big part of it, because if you're losing center off the start, you are going to be in a world of trouble. You're always going to be playing defense. So once you can develop that confidence that you're going to be able to move the match this way, you're going to be more confident committing your shoulder and not worrying about being in a break arm position or anything like that. So long story short, train the movement, train explosiveness, get that app, or just practice ready goes. Have a friend just say go and just shoot in with no resistance if you have to. And then also get that side pressure so you are confident center table and you're going to end up over here, and so you can commit to it. A lot of it's going to be in your head. If you're so used to, you're like, oh, I'm not an explosive puller, you're not going to be an explosive puller, and you're going to try to, just out of self-preservation, commit to defensive stuff. And you got to break that habit. Matt Mask talked about that recently. He's like, in my head, I'm just thinking defensive, stop the match, and that's been a drawback for him. So there you go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, makes sense. I heard a lot of people talk about rubber bands, so explosiveness and speed, because you can hit into them as hard as you want and not damage your joints and really train speed. But yeah, I don't really have. I'm not an explosive guy. I know that being explosive is a big gamble. Relying on speed to gain a lot is a gamble, especially if you don't have all the fundamentals locked down. I can move fast. I can be kind of explosive, but I don't want my arm to be out here by the time I slide them sideways. So to be efficient and then stack on speed later on, I think is more important. To make sure you have the fundamentals checked off, the hand control, the most important things checked off, I put more emphasis on that than on speed and trying to get them in an unfavorable position due to speed rather than effectiveness. So I don't know. But yeah, so I'm not a very explosive guy, so I leave that one to you, Ryan, for sure.
All right. You got to keep going here?
I'm gonna go for another. I'm gonna go to like 4:15, another like 10 minutes or so.
Sweet.
So,
all right, man. Well, thank you for having me on, man. We'll do this again next week, Mondays, 5 p.m. real time.
Yeah, it'll be on Ryan's channel next time, guys. So make sure you guys are subscribed to his channel as well. I'm gonna do a couple more training stuff on here, and then but yeah, next week we'll try to get a guest. What do you think, Ryan? We find someone?
Yeah. Brad,
if
you're listening. This time we'll get you.
Yeah, Brad. We need to get Brad Grundy on here.
We've been barking up that tree for a minute. All right, man. Well, thanks for having me. I'll see you guys next week.
All right, Ryan. I'll talk to you later. All right, guys, you're on mine now. No, I'll go over a couple more training questions here real quick because we started a little bit late, so I wanted to stay here for a little longer with you guys. Let's see. Training. How to break your arm, the do's and don'ts. Oh, no. I think it's a video just explaining arm breaks. Okay, that's good. But, yeah, I won't get into that. I mean, you guys keep your arm inside your butt, inside your shoulders, pull backwards, keep your face connected to your hand. Those are the biggest points for not breaking your arm. These are all no training. Okay. Okay. Posted by Victor Noxus says, what are the best exercises to develop a massive grip strength, not size, but strength? I've been training forearms 4 to 5 times a week, 2 exercises, 3 sets to improve my grip strength at my local gym. Behind back finger curl, barbell reverse curl. Anyway, I do feel pretty weak despite my size. 17 guys, skinny. My arms are not my best part of my body. On January 1st, I was 60 kg. I'm just unhealthily skinny. Is there any other exercise to build massive grip strength? Whatever it is, calisthenics or the gym, I can do at most 3 pull-ups. I do not want big forearms, just strong ones. Well, I mean, strength size is going to come with strength somewhat. I mean, it doesn't mean you're going to get jacked or huge, but like to get stronger, you're gonna put on some size generally. In terms of grip strength takes a while. It's not anything your hand and forearms, guys, takes a long time to grow. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's just consistency with it. Obviously you could prioritize grip and set other things aside and make bigger gains in that. But in general, in terms of hand and wrist strength, and just chipping away at it is the rule of thumb. So for like grippers, like I always had a gripper in my car, like a little 50-pound like Walmart cheapy gripper, and I would put it on my fingertips and I would be driving and I would do that. I'd close that. Or I had one of the wrist ball things and I'd work on my hand and wrist while I'm driving. Just 'cause I had like a 45-minute drive to work back in the day and 45-minute home. That was it. I would just do that and switch hands until I couldn't move my hands anymore. It's gotten to the point where now on my stream all the time, I close at 3.5 for you guys all the time with a deep set and things like that. Now, a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have big hands. I got that. But my grip strength is still higher than normal without me ever being super into grip, just kind of dabbling with it, but just consistently dabbling, I guess is the best way to put it. Right now, currently, when I do the only thing I do for grip, besides like I do a lot of hand and wrist cupping and things like that, which hit my fingers, but every cupping day, which is up to 3 days a week, I stand over like in a rack pull position. Basically, I stand with a barbell in my hand. I let it roll down to my fingertips, and I grip it back into my hand, and then I do a slight wrist curl with it at the end. I'm not really doing too much for the wrist. It's more for the fingers, so I'm not really putting too much emphasis on the wrist curl part. But yeah, you can also, on the barbell, you can supinate into the bar, and it'll hit your bottom 2 fingers more, or you can rise and pronate into the bar and put your elbows out a little bit, and it'll hit your index finger and middle finger a little bit more as you do that if you want to isolate certain fingers. But that's pretty much all I do. I do that 3 times a week, and I've never had any complaints with my grip being too weak for arm wrestling. I feel like it's just dabbling in it, man. It's not a ton of emphasis. Now, I know guys that are massive, like grip guys, the best grip people in the world, and still a lot of those guys only do grippers like once a week, 1 heavy gripper session a week. The only time I touch actual grippers now is when I do it on my Wednesday live stream for you guys. It's like 2 reps, and that's about it. Other than that, I just do the barbell wrist finger curls. So don't stress. Stay with it. You're 17. Just keep staying on those behind back finger curls. I do them in front of me, not behind my back. But yeah, I think that'll be fine. Just stay with it and pay attention to your reps and sets, and slowly increase the weight and move forward with it. It's not rocket science. It just takes a while, man. Everybody wants this fast answer, and this stuff takes a while to get done. So have faith. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Let's see. Do them measure biceps. Pain, you guys, if you're posting and you have injuries, like I can comment on how I deal with injuries and things like that, but if it's anything bad, no, people on here are not doctors generally. Go see a doctor if it's that bad. You have to remember that getting online advice is it's sketchy, right? Because they're not really there and checking out your arm and making sure you didn't actually tear something or there's nothing really bad with it. So definitely, if it's really bad, go to a doctor, get it checked out, get them to run an X-ray and MRI and all these things on it and see what's wrong. Especially if there's any bruising or bleeding, internal bleeding, then go get that checked out. General arm wrestling pain is unavoidable. It never goes away. For those of you guys that are brand new or non-arm wrestlers and we've done it once, you're like, oh, it hurts so bad. It never stops hurting. You learn how to manage the pain, and then you learn how to deal with it, right? So I know after any given practice how my arm is going to hurt, how long it's going to hurt, I did exactly what angles I did, and what I did to hurt it. And so I understand like what the recovery process is going to be like, but it still hurts. But it's not as bad as my first time, right? Because my arm has become more accustomed to dealing with the pain. So if I have a heavy practice, I arm wrestle with Devon and Levon, right, or something like that, and I'm just getting wrecked all practice. Even though I've been arm wrestling 12 years, I will still be out for like a week, right? My arm will still be out for a week. It'll be at least 4 days before I can even start putting some heavy pressure on there. Everything will just be destroyed. My pronation will all be ripped up. Everything, my cupping, my bicep, everything got ripped through multiple times. It'll jack me up. Same thing with Devon, right? A lot of people see Devon as this endurance god, but I've asked him specifically. I said, if you had a practice with Hermes and Levon and Vitali and Dennis Splenkov, could you arm wrestle every day like you do? And he goes, no way. No, absolutely not. He would be absolutely destroyed. Same thing. It's just right now, Devon arm wrestles most of the time with his team and with more average, way lower level arm wrestlers. So it's like, how many days in a row could you arm wrestle 10-year-olds? Like a lot, right? You could probably do it back to back to back to back. It's kind of the same thing at this point for Devon, right? So it's still, we all get the same pain. It just depends on how much damage we're taking, and to what extent are we taking this damage. So pay attention to your body, right? And understand the pressures that you're putting on it and how to heal from it. I have different like DEFCON levels of recovery. If I get back and I'm absolutely destroyed from practice and I'm heavy training, I need to be in the gym as soon as I can, then I do hot cold treatment. Like I'll have ice packs in the freezer and I can fill up a trash can with hot water and I'll just dunk my arms in the hot water for 5 minutes, pull it out, ice packs in my elbows for 5 minutes, pull this off, back in the hot water, 5 minutes, off and on for like 30, 45 minutes. Also, we talk about the things you're taking in terms of supplementation, hydration, sleep, rest, all those things and everything that contributes to healing. But that's honestly one of the biggest parts of being an arm wrestler is learning how to recover. We're always hurt. We're always damaged. Managing that recovery is one of the biggest things, keys to becoming a good arm wrestler and to getting stronger and moving forward. People think it's the work. You can get the work in so many other ways. You can get the work on go to 2 practices a week. Go to have 1 heavy practice in a week. Go to the gym. Go pull your pulleys. There's a million ways that arm wrestlers get the work in. It's the recovery process and how fast we bounce back to get more work in is what's important. And that's the hard thing that people don't focus on. They always focus on the work part, but not the recovery. The recovery is everything, right? Everybody wants to I need to get stronger and take steroids and do all these things to become the most powerful guy. But it's how often can you put in the work, right? That's what you need to focus on in recovery and taking care of yourself when you're off the table, outside of the gym, what you're eating, hydration, all those things, right? Those are the important things people need to focus on and not just the heavy work. But yeah, anyway, there's my little spiel in terms of damage. And but yeah, if it's bad enough, go to a doctor, man. Go to a doctor first before you go to Reddit. All right, I'm going to hit one more here. Okay. No. He was asking if you're a hook puller, should you cap or not cap your thumb? I believe you should not cap because you want to get more coverage. But if you're pulling outside like a high hook or a top roll, then there's an argument to cup your thumb. Okay. Sorry, just trying to find another training question here. Usually they're just sprinkled in here. Painful, another damage or injury question. Another wrist size question. Okay, here we go. Posted by Puffs Reese's says, I need advice. Any good exercises that I can do with dumbbells to improve my top roll? Would hammer curls be good? Yeah. So top roll. Top roll is going to be a lot of your brachialis. It's going to be a lot of posting and hammer curling. There's going to be, depending on how you do your top roll, there's low-handed top rolls, there's high posting top rolls. depending on how you do your top roll, you might want to focus on your riser, pronation, but the bulk of a effective top roll is being your ability to post, to hammer curl, to people call this back pressure. They call this back pressure. I consider this back pressure. Your ability to slide your elbow with your utilizing your back. That's what I call back pressure. So your ability to apply back pressure is going to be the biggest thing for top rolling. When you're top rolling, guys, it's not about how hard you can pronate. People put way too much emphasis on pronation when top rolling. Is pronation in a top roll? Yes, of course. But is it the main player? Not at all. I talked about this a few times. You guys listen to my podcast. One time I hit up Travis Bagent. I called him. I believe I called him. Yeah. I said, hey, I've seen a lot of videos of you training, but I've never seen how you train pronation. I never see you doing pronation. Like, how do you do it? And he's like, man, pronation. He's like, what is that? What is pronation? He's like, I post backwards, their wrist straightens out, and then I curl and go sideways. And then it really got me thinking, like, the bulk of it is really the posting part. The hammer curling part will straighten out their wrist, and then it's minimal pronation on top of it at the end of that. Now, your pronator is an elbow flexor, but it's not a heavy one. It's not a big, bulky one, right? It's not going to do a ton of weight. So I guess your pronation can be a little present there, but it's posting. It's hammer curling back, getting their wrist to straighten up, right? And then the pronation part is just a dash of it. It just looks visually, it looks like you pronate a lot in a top roll, but really it's the hammer curling straight. So with in terms of dumbbell work, full range, partials, static holds, you could even do eccentrics. I'm not a big fan of negative work, eccentrics, but you could do those as well. Arm wrestling is a lot of eccentric work on the table, actually. I just don't like the way it carries over to training. But yeah, so there's a ton of things you can do with dumbbells. Remember, so partial would be maybe leaning over, elbow in front of in between your legs, bringing two hands up, setting it at 90 degrees, and then taking the hand off and doing partials, right? But just making sure your brachialis and everything is working fully and being activated. And always keep your knuckles up with the dumbbells. But also, you can always tie a band or something to the dumbbell and do pronation or rising work with a dumbbell, or a towel. If you don't have a martial arts belt, just go grab a long towel, wrap it around that dumbbell, and then you can put it over your front knuckle or over the side of your hand, and you can pronate it or rise with the dumbbell. So, or if you have a dumbbell that you can put on different weights on each side, you could always put more weight on one side, so it's trying to attack your pronation as you do curls. That's a good one for those people that have those kind of dumbbells. Casey Jones, first super chat of the day, says, what is more manly, King's move or hot dogs? I see where you're going with this. King's move is still arm wrestling, so King's move is more manly. It's still arm wrestling, so it's more manly. Guys, so it is 4:17. I wasn't gonna go forever. I just want to I made us late, so I want to make sure I stayed here with you guys till at least after 4:15 because I made us late to start the show. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching this. Oh yeah, well, hold on. We're gonna make it more dynamically. There we go. Thank you guys for hanging out and watching this. Next week will be on Ryan's channel, like we said, and I'll be on Wednesday at 4:30. I'll be on my show doing the solo thing. Things are going well. I had practice yesterday. Kyle Hutchinson came out, the number one guy from Ireland. He came out to practice yesterday. I got on the table with him, but I was really excited because him and Megan Mike got on the table, and I've been wanting to see them arm wrestle forever. I got video of that. I should probably make a video, put it on my YouTube channel. But it was a really cool practice. I got to dribble with Kyle a little bit. He beat the crap out of me left-handed. My left hand is so bad. But yeah. So I don't know if you guys are worrying about what I'm up to. Either way, thank you guys for hanging out. If you get a chance, check out the awswitch.com. We just launched new hats, new shirts and new hoodies with the team logo and things like that. If you guys want to get yourself one of those, do that. Use discount code AWDerek. Save yourself a little bit of money. Either way, you guys, thank you for hanging out and watching the Pulse. Thank you for hanging out with me after Ryan left. Sadly, he had to go. I will see you guys on Wednesday. All right. You guys take it easy. Be safe and all the things. And thanks. See you later.